divine beings. Well, it's divine night now. Divine night, divine beings. Master Chef here with a little bit of sharing before going into see Oya time. That's why this stain that's right here on this shirt was brush. My person was in there brushing his teeth and he used turmeric. Is it turmeric? Turmeric. And a little bit turmeric. You know how that turmeric is. So try. So the shirt is stained now, nonetheless. Um, Anywho, I was about to see Oya. Oya is the ritual time for shower. And, came back to brush your teeth and sit down and, partake in a little ritual before going in. It's a process, it's a ritual. So it's ceremonial. So in the process of engaging in this ceremony and sitting down, relaxing, and about to go in and started talking out loud. Started talking out loud. And had a little bit of a conversation there, and just happened to be aware of what was happening physiologically, with the physical body. As my person is becoming more and more self-aware, he's becoming aware of self and cause and effect. One of those spiritual laws, cause and effect. Of what happens when you do this. What's the effect? And so, the conversation that was out loud. In fact, what's interesting is, don't recall the conversation just now. More importantly, what my person felt as a result of talking out loud, which was so good that we were inspired to share how good some benefits of talking out loud. In fact, they're so good, had to write them down because I'm saying, it helps with the embodying. It helps with the embodying. At this stage of the game, my person is more about embodying. What does it feel like? So, and as we write these experiences down and even share them, it allows more embodying because it's sound vibration and, you're putting right here, you see it. So it allows the embodiment of what happened, when talking out loud. So much so when sharing this, was reminded that today is April 1st, and some say that's April Fool's Day. And then was reminded that, there's a saying, at least growing up, my person heard this saying, you can talk to yourself, but don't answer. Because if you talk to yourself and if you answer, people may think you're crazy. That was growing up, back in the 70s, 80s, 70s, 80s. Not as much today, things change. However, it's part of that program that stuck out. And then it dawned. Maybe that's true for some people, However, from my person's perspective, yes, greetings and heavenly salutations, 33rd dimensions. Talking about this talking out loud piece, heard growing up. You talk out loud and answer yourself, they may think you're crazy. Again, that may be some people's experience. However, my person's experience now, it is very beneficial. Because this is what happened. We're talking out loud, have this conversation, higher self, and it not going into that details or going into those weeds as my person heard recently. But these two things that happened, my person became lighter vibrationally. And as we was in this state of being, aware, self-aware, it's like, talking out loud, now we're lighter. And so, knew it in theory, but my person experienced what we say a purge or release. How come? It's going very well, very well. Uh-huh. Yeah, my person felt and some say purge. You didn't deal with plant medicine. We use the word purge. Well, it was just a release, letting go, exhaling. When we, every time we breathe, in and out, exhale, if we allow it to be, it may be considered a purge because we're releasing carbon dioxide and toxins. If we're breathing, deep and intentionally, we release a lot more toxins, right? And so that's a release, a purge, a letting go. And so by speaking out loud, my person found that it becomes less in its head. And you say, because Dr. You taking drum class, and I think, get out your head. You can be more present right now with the rhythm. As my person being more aware, self-aware, mindful of, being out of his head. Now, talking out loud, getting out of your head, right? And the second thing was a person felt empowered, became lighter and felt empowered. And that empowered is a relaxed and confidence feeling simultaneously, at the same time, as opposed to a of just being relaxed and not really all that confident, or being confident but a little, you know, excited with it, but just real relaxed and yet confident at the same time. So that's what and felt empowered. That's my person's way of looking at it. So then, just from talking out loud, these two things. This is what physiological. This is a physiological. This is what the physical body, most part, it felt being lighter and it felt empowered. Um, Outside of that, the other bodies, of course, they played a role in that because the way these laws goes, this is the embodiment of that law, the letting go, the releasing, making space for other things to come in with information. You know, it's with every frequency there's depth. There's more to what's being shared always. There's always depth to it. And the more relaxed and open that we are, the deeper that we can go with it. So, anywho, some of you may already be talking out loud to yourself and answering yourself. And some of you just be like, no, yeah, great. So, to each his own, just sharing the benefits that my person found in talking out loud and answering yourself, you see. Talking out loud and answering yourself. Especially when you're observing the conversation, you see. That, as we go deeper into this experience, even now, in order to watch that conversation, that would indicate that there's three. So what my person has just gathered, as I observe my person talking to itself, you see, as I observe my person talking to itself and answering itself, I am observing the soul, the all-seeing eyes, observing the heart and mind, dialogue, work it out, become one. The loving parent and the inner child, you dig, work it out, become one. Because I am the Trinity. We're going to end with this, I am the Trinity, right? Because that was a good example of my person's theme song, because it is first was a poetry. We want to share this, and we out of here. Give thanks for, spending your energies with a brother for a little bit, almost 10 minutes, as they say. Anyhow, dig it. You won't know who I am from what you perceive. But if you listen when we speak, then you will receive a glimpse of who I am. And then you'll believe and have a life of peace because your soul is at ease. You see, okay, here we go. All right, maybe we got too excited. So we wasn't in the observer mode. Well, maybe there was a glimpse of it. So, decided, something happened that left for the moment. Anywho, that was a glimpse. The theme song was out there, and maybe put the link in the thing or something like that if you feel like it. Anyhow, enjoy you, and if it resonates, talk to yourself out loud and ask yourself. And as you watch that conversation, you're embodying that Trinity. You're embodying that's a beautiful space to be as you watch yourself, self-aware. All right, greetings, peace, and wholeness. 6 foot cowgirl, right on, right on. All right.